Dr. Seuss says, you have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself in any direction you choose. I think this quote captures the spirit that seems to have driven the life of my guest, Molefe Mputamputa. He is the Chief Operating Officer of Royale Energy. I am honored to have him for this conversation of Wisdom Personified Conversations with Dudu Msomi. We have not spent much time chatting since our student days at the University of Natal, Durban, almost 30 years ago. Wow. Thank you so much for making the time. Eventually.
Has it been that difficult?
No. Actually, because I was thinking of you, but you were in the UK at that time. So eventually came back. You needed to settle back in, but anyway. So we met at the University of Natal, Howard College, Durban, which is now called KwaZulu-Natal. I still can't get over it. I still call it Natal. But anyway, so I did not know you before your pre-teen years. What was your pastime as a child? Do you have siblings? I know you used to speak about your grandmother a lot when we were kids. So,
yeah, look, I grew up in Rustenburg. I was born and raised in Rustenburg in the Northwest. A child of a migrant laborer who traveled from the Eastern Cape, like everybody else, looking for an opportunity in the platinum mines of Rustenburg. Come from a family of 4 children. I'm the second born.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, unfortunately lost both my parents and my sister, older sister. Yeah. So, but I still have my younger brother and my younger sister, both of which are in Rustenburg.
Still?
Yeah, doing different things. Pastime activity, yeah, so I grew up, I think the formative years of my life, I spent a great deal of time at my grandmother's. And there was this old man, the neighbor, and Tate Chaka, as we used to call him, right? So he had some cows and he had one horse. I think he was originally from Lesotho.
Yeah.
So before I started school, so my daily routine was actually joining him early in the morning when he was milking the cows.
Oh.
And that was a very fun activity. I would be rewarded with fresh hot milk straight from the cow.
Oh, wow.
And later in the afternoon, I'd join him on horseback to go fetch the cows, right? Exciting, I think, formative years of my life taught me a lot of lessons about humanity, about working hard, about the importance of routine, you know. So
which that's a class I missed.
Yeah, so yeah, you know, when other lucky people went to preschool, you know, that was for me preschool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was the routine, sleeping at preschool. Now you remind me. Okay. And the one thing I remember about, I mean, I'm still fascinated that we were so close, so young. But I mean, only now do I figure out I was doing honors, you were doing first year. The fact that even at that age you were young, you were wise already. So it's fascinating. But what do you think your unique value proposition is? What makes you memorable and impactful?
Yeah, I think as a friend, I think it's more around always building people. You know, I always aspire to see people reach their potential. The same for my children, the same for my wife. And I think in the sort of professional side of things, I have over many years developed this thing about, you know, developing high performance integrated teams. And the foundation of that being focusing first on the individuals, making sure that they are grounded on good values, good ethics, and highly focused. And I think that's probably the legacy I leave behind in all the teams that I've managed, both here as well as abroad.
That's
you know.
Amazing, yeah. And it's amazing, not too many people mention the word ethics when they're building teams, which is critical.
True.
I mean, I do work in personal leadership, and one of the main things is your ethics, because that can unravel a lot of things if that's not in place.
Look, I mean, I'm happy you're touching on that point. I think we live in times that throw a lot of dilemmas at us as individuals as well as business leaders, and there's no better way to navigate dilemmas if you don't have a good value system and good ethics, because at times you are forced to make very far-reaching decisions, and if you are not grounded, you might make decisions that might have negative effects on not just on yourself but on a number of people.
Yeah.
I think we've got many examples in our country of what or how things can go wrong when we don't have good ethical leaders in charge, whether in government or in business.
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure. So you are the Chief Operating Officer of Royale Energy. What is the core business of Royale Energy?
Royale is it's a very entrepreneurial young energy company in the country. It's about 20 years old. It's 100% black owned by the PGC Management Pty Limited. We pride ourselves as being one of the biggest non-integrated oil company in the country with quite a significant market share. We play in both the retail and wholesale spaces, and there is room for the business to go to greater heights in terms of shaping the future of the South African energy space.
Yeah, I'm very proud of that decision, I must say, as an aside, leaving a global company and coming back to our roots and helping our local companies also thrive, like the multinational Shell that you had worked with. So that was really a wise decision, I think.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's a decision that did not come easy, but I think deep down within me, I've always had as part of my end game, had the wish to make a meaningful contribution to the country, and this decision for me was key in a sense that it provides me that opportunity to be part of a business that is growing, not the already well-established, big oil as we call them, because big oil has got a different agenda, and they will always have a different agenda for our country. And when I made this decision, for me, it was really around how do I make sure I build longevity and build a legacy in my own country.
Yeah, which is perfect in terms of the question that I'm just going to ask you now. What wisdom can you share on what considerations one should think about when choosing a company to work for that makes for a fulfilling career?
Yeah, that's quite an interesting question. Thanks for that. I've had to navigate, in my career, I've not worked for many companies, but at least made decisions along the way. I think for me, before I even talk career, I think it's important to talk about being grounded as a person. Being grounded helps you to identify who you are, what you stand for, your value system, your beliefs. Those are for me, are key ingredients for decision making, because you use those to even decide who you associate with. Yeah. Who do you want to work for? And then second element for me is really understanding what your end game is. What is it that you want to achieve in your career, and how a particular environment or a particular role in a particular company will help you get there. Most people make the mistake sometimes of only thinking about the next role. I teach most people that I coach about thinking about their end game, which is, simply put, what is the last job you want to do before retirement? And that sort of helps to build a more focused development path for them, which they can use to even decide on key things such as what qualifications do I still need to work on, what experiences do I need and therefore which organizations and which roles should I consider along that path. Yeah.
Interesting. Let's go now to your own qualifications.
Yeah.
So when we met, you were doing your undergrad in BSc engineering. So you did chemical engineering. So then what motivated you later to pursue the commerce stream? So you did the BCom and later an MBA.
Yeah, so how did I even end up doing a BSc in the first place? So for me, I always say it's probably one of the first economic decisions I needed to make in my life. So I grew up in subject poverty, and I was not going to get any funding to go to university. So getting a bursary was one of the ways for me to get education. And in that process, I ended up deciding maybe I should pursue an engineering career in order to be able to secure some funding at the time. But I think soon after I finished my qualification and started working, I did realize that I am not much of a technocrat. I actually get motivated by what I call the end-to-end view or picture of a business as opposed to specialization. And in order for me to move into more of a general management sphere, I needed to retool myself and build more of my commercial skill set. And that was the decision. And so while I was still working, I started my BCom earlier on in my career, which I did part-time.
I remember that. Yeah. I was supposed to register as well. But I'm not good at correspondence.
It was funny actually how I decided on the BCom. I think I made that decision already year 2 of my my career. But then it was too early to do an MBA. So, but I didn't want to. I was
told that.
Yeah, so I didn't want to
more management experience.
So I didn't want to sit and do nothing, right?
Okay,
so I said, no, let me do something that will at least help me prepare. But I ended up doing something quite interesting, which sort of helped my economic optimization and modeling skills. You know, I did a BCom in quantitative management, what other people will call operations research. Yeah, so that was it was quite fun actually.
Yeah,
and
See, the thing is that some of us kind of like let time pass. You know, it's like when somebody says you're not ready. I mean, when I was told I was not ready for the MBA because I needed more management, I did the PMD. You do something. You don't just like sit and wait until.
Yeah.
So on your LinkedIn profile, you say that I'm passionate about developing emerging business leaders to reach their potential. Can you expand more on that? Who has been your most impactful role model in your journey as a business leader thus far?
No doubt. I think one of my biggest motivators and influencers has been Bonang Mohale. I think partly because I worked with him as well at Shell, and I got to know him closer, more as a person, you know, other than the Bonang that people normally see out there, right?
Yes.
So a few things I think attracted me to him. I think one is his value system, his belief in his family, which sort of resonate with my approach to life. I've come to appreciate the importance of creating a balance in life, where you look at your career as part of the whole, not as something that is a standalone, right? And then you sort of treat everything else on the side. So that's he's one person. The next person I think that has influenced me is my mentor of almost now 21 years. His name is Vusi Sidinile. There's interesting similarities between us. I think we both started as engineers and then migrated more towards the business side of things. He's a lot calmer than me, more matured than me. And
you seem to be quite calm. Moving on.
Oh yeah, I think you're seeing the matured version of me, right?
Yes.
So he's worked hard to get me to where I am, to be a more matured family man and a business person and a business leader. But other than those two, there's two friends that I met when I started my career in the oil industry. My very, very first job. I met two friends. We're still friends until today. It's John Dlomo and Mandla Shezi. They've had an immense influence in my life and some of the early decisions I made, you know, regarding studying and even doing an MBA. So, and they've kept on stretching me in terms of, no, don't be content with just where you are, you know, always think about what's the next best thing, you know.
Those are good friends to have. Yeah.
Indeed, yeah. So, so I've been very, very fortunate. Now, I'm a big disciple of what Ntate Mohale calls lift as you rise. So what you see on my LinkedIn profile, it's really about my way of practicing that lift as you rise. So I spend a great deal of my time coaching and mentoring youngsters, whether they work with me or elsewhere, you know, and I'm very proud that at least I have one of the people that I mentored all my life being currently today the CEO of BP South Africa. So it's at least work that is, for me, it's very fulfilling, and that will probably be part of my legacy over time.
Yeah, that's good. We all need to contribute.
Yeah.
But with sound values, as you say.
Yeah.
To thrive towards that. You have experienced challenging times in your journey of fatherhood. I remember at one time you missed my life celebration because of a challenge. What wisdom can you share with couples going through such challenges, and what helps keep the love in your union, especially as life partners and spouses, when you go through such a challenging time to become a father and a mother?
Yeah, you know, it's difficult to talk about wisdom of parenthood and fatherhood. It's a life learning activity. You keep on learning, you know. You can never say, I'm mastering this. But I think one of the most important decisions I've made in my life, and jokingly I tell my friends that the best negotiation I've ever won in my life was convincing my wife to marry me.
Yeah.
You know, but she's an incredible person, an incredible soul. We are different in terms of personalities, but we are so aligned in terms of values, values about love, about family, about religion. And that, I think, is a key ingredient when parents are joined to the hip at that level. It makes parenting much manageable. You are able to set good examples and teachings to your children because they are pretty much learning from you and practicing what you preach. What keeps us together, I think, also as a family is you know, our relationship has always been based on love, on respect and fear of God. And respect, very, very important. And it's not something you should just talk about. It's something that you should actually practice, especially in key decision making, no matter how small the decisions are, right? It's for me, I think it's key. But yeah, I keep learning. But also, I think when it comes to parenthood, it's also acknowledging that there is a greater power above there that has enabled the children to come through you, but not necessarily for you. Yeah. Well,
that's a distinction many parents miss.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we have to play our part to raise them to be responsible. Because they also have a duty to fulfill later on. Like my youngster who's 8 always say, it's a circle of life, Daddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is.
Too much Lion King.
I miss the craze even to this day. So what's the most courageous decision you have taken thus far in your life, and what drove you to that decision?
Yeah, I think leaving a big shell for me was probably the biggest courageous decision to make. It's a decision I'm making very late in my career, and I mean I've had a very fantastic career with the business. I would say almost a comfortable environment. I knew exactly how to operate in that environment, but there's something in me that was still missing. And part of my end game was, I really want to get to a point where I'm fully in charge, and but most importantly, build a legacy and make a bigger contribution to my country. And so yeah, it was a very difficult decision to make with a lot of consultation. You can imagine starting with the big boss at home, who was saying, "What?
Are you gambling now?
Are you now gambling?"
Yeah.
So yeah, it was. But I'm glad I made that decision. I was very happy I made that call, and I'm very excited to be part of the Royale family. Great individuals, great entrepreneurs who basically built a business from nothing to what it is today.
Yeah.
So I'm learning quite a lot. That aspect about entrepreneurship, which I probably missed earlier on in my career.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's probably the decision.
Yeah. Better late than never.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of us got the scars.
Already.
But they're beautiful scars. They let the light shine through.
Yeah.
And hopefully bring good to the world. What is your biggest insecurity?
I would say fear of failure. But that, to a certain extent, is also a motivator for me, in a sense that when I focus on something, I want to see it through. I never want to drop a ball. Whether it's around supporting any of my kids or family members to go through something, I never want to let people down and let myself down. So I think that fear has probably been one of the motivators to my success in many aspects of my life. Yeah.
Now, the one that's a bit of a shocker to me, because is the fact that you are a jazz aficionado. What draws you to this genre of music?
Aficionado, I'm not sure. Passionate about jazz, definitely.
Well, yeah.
Look, I think for me it's first passion for music. So I have a great passion for music, influenced by my upbringing. I grew up in a church environment, so used to sing a lot. But outside church, it's been the influence of uncles. I used to spend a great deal of time with most of my uncles, and they were collecting music of different genres. So by the time I got to uni, I had a good taste for music. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I love smooth jazz. I can't do the deep stuff, like sample and all those I can do.
It's interesting. Most of us who today we call ourselves jazz aficionados we started with smooth jazz because it lays the foundation for most of us, right? And later on we would migrate. But I think when I got to uni, I met somebody who's remained a friend for many years. He was like you, he was doing his honors at the time.
Yeah. So you were attracted to the honors part.
Yeah, Mfana Mlambo, yeah. So he was studying jazz, saxophone. And that's how very soon with him I got to hang around with the likes of Prafea, Faku, Lex Fuchani, Concord Nkabinde, because we stayed in the same rest, right? So I think the influence got deeper and deeper.
Okay.
Yeah, and when I started working, then these two guys I mentioned earlier on, Mandla Shezi in particular, just took it to another level as well. So yeah, but just for me, I always say it's simple, but it can be a very sophisticated piece of art. and married to an artist myself, I
Yeah.
couldn't help but create this deeper appreciation for the arts, right?
Yeah.
But it's
Well, and you're quite dedicated. You're always posting
on
IG. So anybody who wants to follow, follow Molefe there. Yeah. But so in, between 2016 and 2020, you were the distribution operations manager at Shell. You are based in the UK. Mm-hmm. What did you learn about yourself living outside of your comfort zone and birth country?
That was a very exciting assignment for me. And international assignment by their nature, they're meant for, as broadening assignments. To give you a different cultural background. I was very fortunate, although I was based in the UK, I looked after a portfolio of 6 countries that included the UK, Denmark, and what we call the Benelux and France. Benelux would be Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg. So different cultures. So that first thing about, first big lesson about myself was, all along I never thought I'd be scared. But, there was that element of me initially when I started to say, okay, how am I going to tackle this? But soon I quickly built my confidence around the people, right? The second lesson I think for me was understanding that there's certain things that you might have grown up with or gotten used to operating in South Africa. But when you operate in a different cultural setup like that there's a need to unlearn certain things and learn new things, because eventually it's really about how do you hone your skills of operating in different cultural setups and still get the business results and the motivated teams that you'd like to get. So it was quite a fulfilling experience, I think, in many ways or the other. I made a lot of friends, fewer enemies. But yeah, you go through this phase of trying to adjust, more so as a family, So what we've learned a lot and appreciated about ourselves as a family is that we can actually survive outside South Africa. And the things that we've worked hard to build a very solid, family foundation actually helped us to be able to navigate some of those challenges of living outside your own country where there's no immediate family support.
Yeah. So you depend on each other.
Yeah.
How long have you been married to your wife, Sigi? Can you share some wisdom on choosing a life partner that makes this roller coaster journey a joy?
It's been 21 years since we've been married. June this year. Earlier on, I did hint around the importance of finding someone who at least shares the same values with you, because I think that's key. I think most relationships, when you don't have shared values, probably it's the starting point of disaster. So I was very fortunate in that case to meet someone that has a particular view about family and how to raise a family.
Yeah.
But yeah, how do you keep the fires burning, right, for 21 years? Because life is life and life happens. It's not that easy. The excitement that you experience in the first few months or a few years of dating, once kids come in, it gets tough. So, but it's about always remembering the simple things that you enjoy together. Even if it means just go out for coffee and just look her in the eye, it can make a difference. So, but there's certain things that I think we've always experienced and enjoyed as a family, and we keep doing them, year in, year out.
Where did you meet? I mean, I remember her from advertising, because she was in advertising with me.
Yeah, so I met my wife at uni.
Really?
So this is what happened. So I was, I think in '92, first time I met her, I was doing VEC work. So when other people were doing VEC work at their businesses, I was doing my VEC work that December at the Department of Chemical Engineering at uni.
Okay.
Then she so happens to accompany her sister, younger sister, who was looking for, or came to do an application for the following year. And I met both of them. They were asking me for directions to go to the student union, or I can't remember, one of the buildings there. And that's how we met. But I mean, we became friends first before we started going out. We started going out later.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, that's how long I've known her since that.
Yeah, that is long. So you met her even before I met her, because I think I met her, what, 95, 96? Oh yeah,
when you guys started working, yeah.
So just before we wrap up, if you could change one thing that you've done in life and you wish you had done it differently, what is it, and why would you do it differently? And what is the wisdom you have gained that you see that thing differently today than you did then?
Yeah, that's a very difficult question, right? But maybe if I zoom into the career space, so if I look at my career, so there's a few mistakes that I made earlier on in my career, lack of focus and being all over the place. And I think finding a mentor later on helped a great deal. But if there's one decision maybe that I said, I could have made it different, but it was a difficult one, was around when do I move away from what I call sort of operational roles and more into a P&L role. And so there was a toss before deciding to take the assignment in the UK, whether I needed to take a P&L role or give the family an international experience. So it's a trade-off I made, but I don't have any regrets about it. Yeah, but to anyone, I think, who wants to be a business leader, and to the people I mentor, I always say to them, it's so important to define that end game. And if that end game is P&L, you want to start and have the P&L experience earlier on in your career. But if your end game is more specialization in a particular field, again, you want to make sure that you start, doing your 10,000 hours in that field, right?
Oh.
In order to get there.
What legacy do you want to leave behind?
Earlier on, I talked about, grooming future responsible and ethical leaders. I think that's one. I even have a simple number in mind.
Really? Share the number.
So I said, before I die, I want to at least count 1,000 people who are leaders across different fields that I say, yeah, I've had an impact in their lives. I think I'm on sort of count number 50 at the moment, but getting there.
That's good. No, that's good.
So it's a concerted effort, right?
Yeah.
It's how I do this is that I literally block out an hour a week of my time to coach someone.
That's good.
Yeah, deliberate.
Even the systematic thing still comes in. Yeah.
So
that's good. It's a good skill to have.
That's one part of my legacy. I think the second one, I think I want to leave responsible, and highly focused kids. And I think that's what we're working hard towards within Ziki, to make sure that we build responsible adults, and and maybe in the process, maybe create a little bit of wealth for them as well.
Yeah.
As a start.
A good foundation.
Yeah.
That's good, because I was always running away from putting a target in terms of this building ethical leaders. And I've decided that I want to have 1 million ethical leaders that I've impacted by the time I take my last breath. So I would love the universe to assist me with that.
It will, right? Once you set yourself a target, at least you're going to work towards it.
So in wrapping up, what wisdom would you like to share that can end our conversation?
Look, I spoke about the importance of a balanced life, right? Look at your life holistically. Career cannot be your life. It's part of. I think that's number one for me. Secondly, I think it's around, part of that balance is also have fun. It can't always be about work. And that fun, again, if you are a family person, it's fun for the family, not just fun for you, right? Because everybody needs to experience that balance in life. I think thirdly for me, it's around what I spoke about, the importance of having an end game in mind. and having people around you that will help and support you towards getting there. And lastly, I think for me, it's always reminding all leaders that leadership is not about us, it's about those we lead. And it's not about what we as individuals will get out of it, but it's around how do we deliver exceptional business results, and in the process develop highly motivated individuals or teams that will thrive and continue to thrive even long before you're gone, after you're gone, sorry, So that's for me, I think it's one of the things that keeps me going every day when I wake up to say I'm going to make a difference today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is part of why we're having this conversation, because I think we are lacking role models that have depth. I think we all look at people who make headline news, who are very articulate, and we miss people like you, I think, that you are such a gem, I think, for our country. And I think for a new generation, I'm eager for them to find a new role model and to follow you and to be inspired by the way you have exercised wisdom, I think, in terms of how you've led your career. So I hope you find this conversation as fulfilling as I have.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and much appreciated the opportunity. And yeah, I hope those who will watch this will pick up one or two things that can impact their lives positively. And thanks to you for such a wonderful platform that you've created, and I'm sure you are going to reach your target of 1 million. In fact, multiply that by 10.
Thank you. To the universe.
Yes.
It is as if no time has passed at all since our student years, when we could spend hours chatting and watching television at John Bu's residence on campus. Hope you have enjoyed this conversation with another wise African. Thank you for making time for this episode of Wisdom Personified Conversations with Dudu Msomi. Please like and subscribe to our channel. Click on the bell notification to be informed when our next episode is available. Wisdom Personified Conversations with Dudu Msomi is also now available on Facebook Watch, Apple and Google Podcasts, as well as Spotify. Enjoy the wisdom journey.